Good evening. Welcome to the regular bi-monthly town board meeting for Monday, December 11th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:01 PM. Would you all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to recognize in the audience Supervisor-elect David McMillan. David, congratulations. And Rick Marsh, Councilman-elect. They're calling you guys.
All right.
I'll give you the.
That process.
All right, we're going to open the meeting with a public hearing on real property tax exemption for senior citizens, of which I would qualify if, from the senior citizen angle. So this is a amendment to our town code to be in alignment with New York State tax law. So basically, as we explained at previous meetings, we're really just amending our law to be in alignment with what New York State law is all about. I don't know if any other council people want to add any depth to that statement?
No, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay. So I'm going to open the public hearing. A public hearing regarding the real property tax exemption for senior citizens. I'm going to call it open at 7:03 PM. The floor is open to public comments about the tax exemption changes. Yes.
Are there new changes?
It's really to be in alignment with New York State law.
The exemption has got some, it's related to income. And so it's the language that defines how the income is calculated has changed. Or the town law was out of date in any event. So what we've basically done is crossed off every way that the town has defined income for this calculation and said, in accordance with how the state calculates it. So it should help people get their senior tax exemption stuff.
And that would be under the enhanced star.
I believe so. It's part of the STAR thing, whether it's STAR or enhanced STAR.
Enhanced star for seniors,
Isn't STAR for school taxes?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is property.
Well, it's all
for the
property.
town, right?
It's all of the exemptions that you can get on property taxes. Town STAR, all of them.
Thank you.
Anyone at home have any comment? So I'll read the resolution.
Wait, you get a close meeting first.
I was going to read it as part of the.
Bottom of page 2.
So I'll make a motion, ask for a second, that all persons desiring to be heard, having been heard, the public hearing regarding real property tax exemption for senior citizens be closed at 7:05 PM. Do I have a second on that?
Second?
Seconded by Michelle Lindsay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'm going to read the resolution for adoption. Whereas an introductory local law entitled Real Property Tax Exemption for Senior Citizens was introduced before the Town Board of the Town of Tuxedo on November 27, 2023, and upon notice duly published and posted, a hearing was held on December 11, 2023 before the Town Board. And whereas public discussion was heard at such hearing concerning the merits and environmental significance of said introductory local law. Now therefore be it resolved that the adoption of the introductory local law entitled Real Property Tax Exemption for Senior Citizens is hereby determined not to have a significant effect on the environment. Be it further resolved that the introductory local law entitled Real Property Tax Exemption for Senior Citizens of the Town of Tuxedo be and hereby is adopted as local law number 7 of the Town of Tuxedo on December 11, 2023. I've introduced it, and you want to second that, Jack?
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, and upon a roll call vote, Supervisor Ken English, aye. Councilperson Maria May.
Aye.
Councilperson Michelle Lindsay.
Aye.
Councilperson Deirdre Murphy.
Aye.
And Deputy Supervisor Jay Reichgott.
Aye.
First agenda item. Tonight, we will be considering a resolution authorizing transfer of an 88-acre parcel in accord with Tuxedo Farm special permit. I'll read the,
Are you going to take comments on agenda items?
no, I'm just going to go into this now.
All right, then.
Resolution authorizing the transfer of 88-acre parcel in accord with Tuxedo Farm special permit. I believe we have members of, from the legal team. We have Brad Schwartz, Dylan Norris. So basically, whereas the Tuxedo Farm special permit Article 20D requires the town board's consent to transfer of the 88-acre LIO zone land from Tuxedo Reserve Investment Partners LLP, an affiliate of LR Tuxedo Development Group LLC TGD, to the Open Space Institute Land Trust, OSI, for its preservation purposes. And whereas ultimately OSI intends to transfer the property to the Palisades and State Park Commission, whereas it is the practice of OSI to continue to pay real property taxes on property it holds and intends to transfer to PIPSI, Palisades and State Park Commission, when PIPSI is required to pay real property taxes under New York real property tax law. Whereas pursuant to Real Property Tax Law 532, lands purchased by PIPSI in the town of Tuxedo, Orange County are subject to taxation for all purposes. And the town board is consenting the transfer upon the following 2 conditions. At the time of transfer, the real property will remain taxable on the real property tax rolls, and that there will be thereafter be no pilot payments. Upon transfer to OSI, the town will receive payment of the sum of $100,000 as a voluntary contribution from TRIP and our TDG. I'll save the motion. So I'll make a motion to consider, and I'll ask for a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Maria. Okay. I'd like to give the microphone to Brad Schwartz, attorney for the related group. Brad, if you want to explain what you asked this board to consider, please go ahead.
Terrific, Mr. Supervisor, and good evening, everyone. Good to see you all again. So this is a fairly straightforward request to allow our client to convey 88 acres, right, sometimes known as the northern parcel, to OSI for ultimate conveyance to PIPSI. The end result being the protection of this land for conservation purposes in perpetuity. This land is next to about 700 acres that has already been donated to the town for that exact purpose. So these 88 acres would only add to that long-term conservation effort of land in this area of the town. We're asking the board to consent to that request pursuant to the terms of the special permit. And that's what's before you this evening. I am joined by Dylan Norris from Elated, as well as Brad Burns and Matt Decker from OSI. should you have any questions. Again, the intent is to convey to OSI first, and then OSI kind of acts as a intermediary for ultimate conveyance to PIPSI, again, in accordance with PIPSI's conservation and protection purposes.
Matt
So
and
it's a-
Brad, could you explain your interest in this transaction and why it's attractive to you guys?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. Matt Decker with Open Space Institute. As Brad Schwartz was saying, the parcel is right in the middle of, surrounded by otherwise conserved land, and we think it makes a natural addition to Sterling Forest State Park. The state parks agrees, and I believe they provided a letter to the town just kind of laying out how OSI has and does continue to work with state parks in this way, where we pre-acquire the property in essence for the state, hold it for a period of time, and then transfer it to the state down the line. And that's simply what we're talking about here.
So your organization is bound to conserve this property and with full intention of turning it over to the state park?
We have full intention of turning it over to the state park. We have a letter of intent from state parks describing that they intend to purchase the property from us. And yeah, we'll, tee up the transaction steps for the state and sort of smooth the way for them to take ownership of this parcel.
I would just add that if we were to sell it to anybody at a private sale, or to even to transfer to anybody other than a not-for-profit land conservation organization or the state of New York or municipality, we could lose our 501c3 status. We could also wind up losing our LTA, our Land Trust Alliance accreditation. So if we are taking an interest in the property, it is going to be for conservation purposes in perpetuity.
Could you just remind our board and our audience of the kind of land transfers your OSI has already done for other state parks, and not only in New York State, but throughout the country?
Absolutely. OSI in their 40+ year history has been involved in the protection of 2.4 million acres. We have worked as far north as Canada and as far south as Florida, but your town, New York Highlands, is sort of the bread and butter of where we have always worked for those 40 years. OSI did, have a hand in protecting Sterling Forest and has worked on additions to Sterling Forest ever since then. Scunnamunk Mountain State Park, the entirety of it was an OSI project, and we continue to work with state parks, especially in the Palisades region, on dozens. I can go on and list dozens of ways that we have worked with the state in the way that we're planning on working with them on this parcel.
Thank you, Matt.
And Mr. Supervisor, if I could, just to remind everyone, under the approvals, we can transfer the property directly to PIPSI as the approvals currently stand. Just PIPSI is not in a position to take title yet. So the only reason why we're here is to ask permission to convey to OSI first as a way to make this deal all happen and take advantage of this wonderful opportunity to preserve this land. So it's the same outcome that was contemplated by the approvals. It's just we're going through OSI rather than directly to PIPSI.
So, people who came out here tonight, I just want to share my thought. So the town board has a decision to make this evening: to preserve and protect the land forever, or to open it up to commercial development. I will choose preservation and conservation personally. My reasons for approving the transfer: I believe the best use of this land is to conserve it in perpetuity. This is a key parcel that New York State Parks will acquire from Open Space Institute. That's what OSI does, as you just heard. The conservation of this 88-acre parcel will further the interest of New York State Parks to acquire other Northern Tract parcels owned by the town. We have 701 acres that came as part of the related agreement. And those parcels are currently under a conservation easement with Orange County Land Trust. OSI and New York State are willing to do this transaction together. As I said, we own more than 8 times the property that I have. This land is contiguous with the 88 LIO parcel. These parcels connect Sterling Forest and Harriman State Park. Without this agreement, the possibilities for development are left open and would be driven by the highest profit possible. Future town boards can amend the special permit and allow almost anything. Current code permits this commercial development. The approval will provide $100,000 to the town of Tuxedo paid by Related. Taxes will continue to be paid to the town by OSI and New York State after the transfer in perpetuity. New York State Parks is Tuxedo's largest property tax resource. Those trees pay a lot of taxes, in case you don't know. Never had an argument with any one of those trees either. Warwick Brook Road is an amazingly beautiful country road used extensively for walking and bird watching. I feel it is my responsibility to do everything possible to preserve this land. It's in the heart of Sterling Forest. I'd ask you, would we develop the property on the rim of the Grand Canyon? I would hope not. I feel that this property is that valuable, that for the tens of millions of people that live within an hour's drive of this park, and as we saw when COVID was out there, how many people sought the refuge of this forest? And to nature, Sterling Forest is a critical bird sanctuary, an important stop for migrating birds. The wildlife has rebounded here since our leaders of conservation established Sterling Forest in 1998 and Harriman State Park in the early 1900s. It makes Tuxedo unique. It draws tens of thousands of visitors every year who come to hike, bird watch, hunt, bike, even ride horses. It's a very important watershed as well. That could never be overstated, excuse me. That's my rationale. I'll turn to my colleague, Maria.
So, I mean, this is not something that we decided now. This is something that's already in the permit. The land belongs to Related. They have the right to, to develop it and do whatever it is that they want with the land. And that was already agreed to in the, one of the things that I think people haven't talked about is when we revalued the lands for New York State, the district for Northern Tuxedo, the Monroe-Woodbury, got a sizable sum of extra taxes. And this land will allow the Tuxedo Union Free School District to get that, to get benefit in taxes that they weren't getting before. So I think that's an important thing to think about, even though, I think this is the best that we can do with this land.
Ms. Lindsay?
Yeah, I support land conservation, and as Matt Decker and I have talked about over at Bear Mountain Park, there's full recognition that, there's a finite amount of land, so let's conserve what we can. I just would like to, in the interest of due diligence, talk about sort of the history of how this land became zoned as a light industry office and why. When, and I've said this at a previous meeting, but the southern tract where Tuxedo Farms is going to be developed was zoned residential office, which is a higher rateable than residential. When 20 years ago, when the town was negotiating with Related on Tuxedo Farms, the town decided to give up that higher rateable of residential office and rezone it as residential in exchange for the LIO piece, LIO being light industry office, so that the town would have some non-residential ratables to compensate for that. And, we can recognize and we know that Tuxedo is over 75% not, state park and has very little non-residential rateable land. we do along the Route 17 corridor, but, so anyway, just that as background. So I just think that there are options we could think about for that land, and I'm not saying I'm against the conservation. But Orange County Partnership, Orange County Office of Economic Development, Orange County Office of Tourism is interested in looking at Tuxedo for some hospitality, some tourism-related development. And Deirdre Murphy and I have reported that we've met with Orange County Partnership. They're interested in the LIO piece. They haven't gotten around to talking to Related, but maybe something that could be considered, since it's an 88-acre piece that runs along Long Meadow Road, the southern part, which is the attractive piece of the property, is about maybe 25 to 30 acres. If that were allowed to be developed for tourism or LIO, and the rest conserved, I'm just throwing it out there as an option to help the town with the fact that it has so little non-residential rateable land. Just throwing it out there to be considered, I think, as an option. And since we received the letter from, let me see who this is. Andy Fife, Assistant Deputy Commissioner of the New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. In his letter today, he says that the purchase of the property is contingent upon satisfactory completion of all necessary due diligence. And then he goes on to say, this letter is intended to serve as an expression of interest only and is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as an offer to purchase the Tuxedo Northern Tract property or as creating any type of binding obligation on behalf of either the Office of Parks, Recreation, Historic Preservation or OSI. Until such time as there is a definitive written agreement executed by both parties and approved by the Attorney General and the State Comptroller, neither his Office of Historic Preservation nor OSI have any obligation to each other in connection with this matter. So given that there's some unknowns and some other possibilities that maybe are worthy of discussion, I just think that this should be given to the incoming board for their due diligence and further conversation with all the parties.
Councilperson Murphy? You're muted, by the way.
I happen to agree with Michelle Lindsay. I did read the letter. I don't think it's a letter of intent. It is a letter that expresses interest, but not a letter of intent. I'm also concerned. I mean, I also support conservation. That's why I moved to Tuxedo. However, I do think in the best interest of the town, we need to look at what the possible ratables could be if we were to open up a small portion of that tract to allow for tourism, hospitality to actually come and enjoy our parks. We have no hospitality in the town. We have had interest and expressed interest from the Orange County Partnership of finding us partners who would be able to be interested in working with Sterling Forest and the PIPSI on developing a tourism attraction for our parks. And I think it's worthy of a conversation. I think it's worthy of, I don't see the urgency of transferring this immediately without due diligence. And that's my opinion.
Thank you. Councilperson Reichcott, Deputy Supervisor.
All of the above. In no particular order. The attractive south part of this property has got serious SHPO issues because of graveyards. The north end of this property has got rattlesnakes and really rocky outcrops and Warwick Brook. There is very little, if any, functionally developable land here. There may be some. When we were looking at possible alternates for this school site, when that discussion was happening, we went through this and discovered that there are very few developable properties at reasonable cost. I don't know much about development. I'm an engineer, I know something. I know who knows a lot about development, and that's Related. And I think that if they thought they could make money on this property, they wouldn't be giving it away or selling it. I think that the idea that the town should look at alternates for uses of portions of this property is a lovely idea, but we have no way to compel Related, whose property it is, to do that. I think that we certainly don't have any power to compel them to put a hotel or a unicorn petting zoo or any other tourism attraction on it. If we tell them that they have to develop it, they will find the highest paying development that they can put on it because they've got a lot of property they got to sit on that they can't develop. I also think that the fact that the state agencies have put the usual disclaimers about this should not be taken as a contract into their letter is not significant. Of course, they are not going to promise to buy it until everything lines up. That's why OSI is involved in this transaction, because that's what they do. They take the property from the owners, they do the due diligence that the state is talking about, and then when it's all lined up and it's easy, because as you guys may have realized, governments don't like to do things that are hard. When it's easy, then the state will come and take it from them. So I don't see that there's due diligence that is yet to be done here. I think that this is a reasonable way to deal with this. And I think there is urgency because Brad and Related and OSI didn't come to us because they want to make this deal happen sometime in the future. This is something that wants to happen now.
So what is the urgency? Just out of curiosity, Brad. If there is urgency, if there is urgency, can you explain to us why you think it would be more prudent for this board to approve this now versus waiting for the next board to evaluate it and within a month come up with another, decide what to do?
You're on mute, Brad.
Brad and Matt, feel free to jump in also with OSI's interest in this property. We've been talking to OSI for well over a year now. So this has been in the works for quite some time. The only reason why we waited till now to come to the board is because we were waiting for the school agreement to sort itself out, as Jay had mentioned. So once that was finalized late October, this kicked into high gear really quickly as something that's been in the works for well over a year. So that's why we're here now. There's no more time. OSI is at the table. They're ready to sign. In fact, we have a signed agreement with OSI. We're ready to move this forward at this time and line everything up. So hopefully the transfer to Pipsy, as mentioned in that letter, and Jay, thank you for mentioning the boilerplate language. You took that right. I was going to go there, but I don't need to now. Pipsy is lined up to hopefully complete this transaction and this preservation effort sometime next year. The longer we wait, there's no guarantee that OSI and Pipsy remain at the table.
Can I add something? The letter that we got from Orange County Partnership for building hospitality wasn't this property. They were talking about the property that's near the Renaissance Fair. So, I mean, you're conflating one thing with another.
Actually, I'm not. We've been meeting with Orange County Partnership for over a year, and I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to the interest they expressed separately, completely separately from what you're mentioning.
I know.
So, and that there's no, the word compelling related certainly isn't what I intended. I don't think I said that word or intended it to sound like that. I just thought it was worthy of a conversation.
But I'm open to that. We have some people who came out, I'm sure, for this topic. If you want to raise your hand and be acknowledged. Please state your name, Tony Davidson, and
Need
your
a
address.
microphone.
You need a microphone so people at home can hear you. It won't amplify your voice.
Sure. I'll start with just a question, because I'm not clear, why does the town board need to be involved in this? Why isn't this just a transaction between Related and OSI directly?
Well, because the special permit says we gave them permission to transfer it directly to Pipsy, but at that time, no intermediary organization was contemplated as necessary to make that transaction happen. So that's why they're coming before this town board to decide whether we would grant that modification so that the land can be transferred to OSI with the intent to keep it in conservation, and then, as they do, transfer it to the state.
And what's the worst case if this transfer to OSI occurs and Pipsy backs out?
I'll let OSI answer that question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I simply don't know of an example when we've received the letters that you've received and Pipsy does not follow through with their commitment really to purchase the property. So I don't know of a precedent that we could point to, but I guess I would pass it off to Brad Burns to talk about what our policy as a 501c3 with a conservation mission would be in the less than, I mean, really, we're talking about hundredths of a percentage point of possibility of that happening. But in that case, Brad, do you want to cover what our...
Yeah, I want to cover the one point about, worrying about whether or not Pipsy is going to purchase the property. The reason why the letter is not a firmer letter is because they can't do it. Right now, they don't have the money. Before I was at OSI, I worked for DEC for 8 years. And the state of New York cannot buy property unless they have the money committed to it through an appropriation through the budget. So right now, Pipsy does not have an appropriation to buy this particular property. But by that notice of intent, once we're in contract, they're going to make that a budget item. They might make it a budget item for next year. They might make it for 2 years. They might have other promises of other property they have to buy. So the reason why we're buying it now is because Related doesn't want to hold on to this property for years. So Related wants to sell the property now because there was a point made that if they felt that they could develop it, they probably would. That is the business that they're in. So we are holding this for the state of New York. So what would happen if New York dropped out? And the only reason why New York would drop out, Pipsy would drop out, is because the New York State Legislature does not approve the appropriation for this project. What would happen in that case is most of the times we'll hold on to the property. Sometimes we'll look for another municipality to buy the property, and then we would take it and we put a conservation easement on it. Sometimes what we would do is we would see if there was another land conservancy that, had an office, very close to Tuxedo, and we would see whether or not if they wanted to take it. And we would do the same thing. We would transfer ownership over to them, but we'd also keep a conservation easement on it. So that's what would happen with the property. We would always be involved, unless it goes to New York State, then we step away. That's a full fee transfer over to them.
Thank you. And I'll close with just one point that I want to make, which is if you do this transaction, then I think we get to keep the forest and the taxes.
That's correct.
If we don't do this transaction, the most likely buyer is a religious organization, and we will lose both the forest and the taxes.
I can't speculate on that.
Hi, Irene De Niro, Laurel Ridge, Tuxedo. It sounds like a win-win for the town. Based on everything that I've heard, I think the board should move forward. I don't see any negatives in moving forward with this. Michelle, I appreciate what your suggestion is, but there's so many unknowns with what you've discussed. And this other deal seems like it's pretty solid. And
I
agree with
appreciate
what
that.
you said.
I mean, I think that, I'm just trying to bring out all the factors. This land was going to, if the related did not develop it, the town would receive pilot payments of 100,000 a year for 10 years. So all I'm saying is you say win-win, maybe it's worthy of a conversation to see if the southern portion that we walked with Orange County Partnership, and it's kind of very nice land, if a portion of it could be a win-win situation. We have a little bit of economic development, and then we conserve the rest in it, that's connected to the over 700 acres that have already been conserved and are under conservation easement with Orange County Land Trust. We have the Fox Hill tract that was donated to the village. We have other land that was donated to village. All of that is conserved with an Orange County Land Trust conservation easement. So I'm just saying, maybe it's just worth a conversation. Now, related has been, obviously,
Unfortunately, in this town, conversations take years.
well, but, and obviously, yeah,
So,
I
I
agree
mean, and
that,
I appreciate what Jay's expertise and his discussion of the land doesn't look like it's totally feasible to build on and develop.
I've walked it, I don't know.
I'd like to focus this back on public comment rather than back and forth debate.
My name's Hattie, also Laurel Ridge. I'm in favor of protecting the land in perpetuity, but I'm also curious about this economic development business when I drive up 17 and there's so many empty storefronts. I don't know if I'm opening another can of worms.
It's not relevant to this conversation, but no.
Okay, but it's interesting, like, those are empty, who's gonna, I'm curious who's gonna fill that space if it were to go that route.
Claudia Bakhtiari, Laurel Ridge. I'm a little confused about what we're discussing. I thought the only point was to allow, what is it called, Open Space Institute, to step in the middle.
That's it.
And that was the only discussion, right? So the decision.
That's the only thing before this board tonight.
Right, and the
Exactly.
decisions really have been made by, Related and Pipsy, so to speak. There's just a vehicle that is needed to make the transaction happen, which is not currently allowed through the special permit.
Here, here.
So we're beyond exploring, discussing, looking, all of that was done. So I'm a little lost. I have to honestly say that we now, in the 100th hour, coming up with yet another discussion, and let's table it another time. I mean, I'm waiting for this development for 35 years, as everybody else who has been here, So I think we're well beyond that point.
Thank you.
Well, I would just like to say that we just found out about the deal a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, we've been working on trying to
And I'm
see.
not blaming you, Michelle, I'm just
No,
saying.
I'm just,
At some point, we need to draw a line in the sand and progress.
Any other public comment? Roger Friedman.
Hello?
I'm Roger Friedman.
I'll be with you, Ms. Radeloff, just a moment, please.
Okay.
I'm co-chair with Sue Scher of the Sterling Forest Partnership, and I'll just be very brief. All I want to say is that it's our position in the Sterling Forest Partnership that any construction or development within Sterling Forest is, we don't see any point in that. We don't see any reason for there to be any construction within Sterling Forest.
Thank you. Sharon Radeloff, and then Mary.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the previous person's comment, and that this doesn't seem to me why we would be waiting. This seems like a very good opportunity to move ahead, to take the $100,000 and to conserve more land in Tuxedo. I don't think it makes any sense for us to wait. If the time is now for Related, and the time is now for the Open Institute, and they feel that this is the best time to move ahead, I firmly believe we should support them, and we should support conserving land in Tuxedo. And I just want my feelings to be known. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the main.
Could you just identify yourself, Mary, please?
Mary McFarland, Clinton Woods. When I understand at one time, people in Clinton Woods, you had to get, when we were under Sterling Forest rules, you had to get permission to cut down trees. And it breaks my heart to see new people coming into my neighborhood and clear cutting their property. The main help with climate change, the main thing that helps defray that is the trees, because trees take the carbon dioxide out of the air and it stores it. How many more hundreds of acres are we going to clear cut in Orange County? And every opportunity that we have to save the trees, to save the land, we must take. And I do think it's imperative. And I do think that it needs to be immediate.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark and Michelle Fermanic, Laurel Ridge. We're both in favor of preserving the land.
Thank you, Mark. Michelle.
Donna Winan, Laurel Ridge. I'm in I definitely want to preserve the land.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'm Christy Apostolides, also Laurel Ridge. I'm not going to say anything that somebody else hasn't already said, but I do want to sort of reiterate some of the points that were made because I think they're important ones to think about. Related isn't doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. You know, I'm sure that they're looking at it from a business perspective as well. This seems to be the best move that they figure they can make for that land. So that's something to consider. It happens to benefit conservation, which, you know, is always a good thing in my opinion, especially if you talk to anybody that moved into this neighborhood in the past 5 years, they are here because of the forest, not in spite of it. There are many other businesses in town, which I would be more than happy to see revitalized and turned into something that could, you know, complement the fact that we are 75% parkland. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. You know, if Orange County Partnership had somebody buying, you know, on the ringer, let's say, to purchase that land right now and turn it into like a hotel or something that could do that, then I'd say maybe we should postpone it, but that's not the case. You know, and there are other properties in town where those uses could be taken advantage of. So, I mean, this seems to be, it seems to be in the best interest of everybody, in my opinion. I don't, if it's going to, and the other thing is that, you know, Related is going to be building X amount of commercial space. I don't remember the exact square footage, but a lot of commercial space in Tuxedo Farms area. So let's encourage them to do that. It's already a done deal. And I think that, yeah, moving forward, this just makes sense. I'm assuming that it's not going to be the same as, you know, the tax ratables. When we get to that point, won't be the same as the $100,000 a year payment that we're sort of giving up, let's say. But, you know, in the long term, having that land conserved, I think will be a benefit for a number of other ways. I keep looking at how they've operated across the river. And if you look at the way development happens across there and the property values there, you know, it's concentrated development in one area surrounded by, you know, farmlands and then conserved lands outside of that radius. And so I think that's the concept of smart development that we should be working towards, and, you know, not picking off pieces of land in the middle of the state forest to put development in.
Thank you. Ms. Hanson?
Joanne Hanson, Tuxedo Park. I think Related has the right, as we've discussed this evening, to transfer this to the Palisades Park. So de facto, that is what's happening in this current request. We get the current funding, and we have worked, we meaning the planning board of Tuxedo Park, has worked on some properties that are not immediately adjacent to this, but which did have very significant rattlesnake habitat, which, and that is, there are challenging parts and rocky parts of this property. So I think given the fact that the developer has the right to go ahead to the Palisades, that it's appropriate to facilitate this happening, since Open Space Institute, which is a highly respected institution, maintains a lot of open land in the Tuxedo and Hudson Valley and throughout the country. They're very reputable, and I think this is something that should be moved forward this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Springer?
Kelly Spranger, 80 Alexander Drive. I am absolutely 100% in favor of preserving the land because I'm involved with the pollination meadow, but also just as a human being who needs nature in my life. My kids need nature in their life. The reason why I live here is because there is nature here. I absolutely support that.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Topher, Clinton Woods. I was going to say I support the move to preservation as well. It just makes sense for me and my children and everyone who likes to come up to this area. If we keep moving away from that, we won't have anyone, tourists coming to the area again.
I have a question for Matt and Brandon, or Bradford, sorry. Ken English and I had met with Matt Shook and Joshua Laird from Tipsy to discuss a Bear Mountain Inn type of place, which is what we threw out there as a possibility to complement this property. So would that be a possible, well, I guess you're not Tipsy, so you can't speak for them, but they were interested in doing something like that in
We were
land
talking
that
about
was-
town property at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, I
We
know.
were talking about potential, just very superficially talking about ideas for Quarry Field.
Right.
And the 40 some odd acres there. That's not what's before this board. So I'd like to bring it back to what, as Ms. Bakhtiari pointed out, what's before the board here tonight? We're not here to talk about possibilities for other things. We're talking specifically about this one thing that's before the board. Are we going to authorize a very minor change in the special permit to allow this transfer to OSI, which absolutely will lead to conservation of the property? That's the only thing before this board tonight. So as a board member, I don't need any further information. Do you, Mr. Edgecott?
I do not. I would point out that we
Yeah,
have at
there's
least
two
one
people
more.
that
That's
have
fine.
The Lambergs and,
But I don't need any further information to answer your question.
I see a hand raised. I think the Langbergs wanted to make a comment earlier.
Yes, well, several of the last several speakers have pretty much said everything we would add to that, but they've covered it very well. And Betty and I are both lifelong residents of Tuxedo and fully support the transfer through OSI, and think it's a great move and a great opportunity.
I have a feeling the hand raised is Evelyn Davis. I don't know. I have a crystal ball. Is that you, Evelyn?
Yeah, it's me. Hi, how's everybody? I
Wouldn't
see
be
you're
a
all
good
discussing
meeting
every.
unless you showed up.
Yeah, no, there you go. Well, I'm always on the meeting. Sometimes I'm very
No,
quiet.
I say that with a smile, but it's a
Right.
sincere smile. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. No, listen, just a little tiny maybe thought. If the letter is bothering people, the language in it, even though it's the state, even though it's written because of the way the state, is involved in this down the road, maybe you could change the wording to make it a little bit stronger. That's the only suggestion I had in my head. Listening to the comments. Right, that's it. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, right.
Well, this is not a public hearing, by the way. The town board has the total authority to make this decision. But
Yes.
I passed over the public comments because I wanted to hear from you, not just based on a line that we heard from you. And so, as I said, I don't need any further information. And if any of my
Well,
colleagues
I
still
would
do.
just like to say, I don't need any further information. The only reason I brought all of that up was to have a discussion.
Okay. well,
Now,
think we
I
found it.
know that the decision before us is very limited, and of course, it's pretty clear. But I just thought I couldn't let this go without a conversation. And I don't see any harm in that.
No, I think we've just had it. So I'm going to take a roll call vote on this, on a motion to approve this resolution. I'll start with myself. It's a definite aye for conservation. Maria May?
Aye.
Michelle Lindsay?
Aye.
Jay Reichcott?
Aye.
And Deidre Murphy? I don't know if she's
Aye.
allowed to vote anyway, but.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
She's there.
Okay.
We follow all the rules for the open meetings.
Okay.
And I
All
want
right,
to
so
point out,
passed unanimously, so there you go.
just point, okay, never mind.
Thank you, OSI related. I hear birds chirping and beavers hard at work gnawing at smaller trees, and we'll get on them too. But thank you for conservation, and this is such a key part of Sterling Forest. I couldn't have imagined it not going this way, so thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. Good night.
Thank you.
What, you're not gonna stay for the rest?
I'll
Brad's
check the
got a
agenda.
party hat.
I'll check the agenda.
I
I'll see
understand why
what's going
Brad
on.
and Brad and Matt are gonna leave.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your consideration.
All right, we're gonna move forward with the agenda, thank you. I'm gonna skip the budget modification right now. That's gonna, I'm sure, be a more lengthy matter. I'd like to skip to agenda item number 3. Resolution to consider entering into a contract with Pitney Bowes for a postage machine in Town Hall. Let me see, a postage machine in Town Hall. Beep, 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 beep. Who might be requesting that? Beep, 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 raise your hand. Who is that? Could you identify yourself, young?
That would be me, Marissa.
Why do we need a postage machine?
Well, all right, let me count the ways. Continuing to get town hall into the 21st century, or bring town hall into the 21st century. Streamline the process of how we do things. You know, a lot of the departments now take credit cards, online payments, super exciting. A postage machine would allow us to feed envelopes, and the postage would be stamped onto the envelope. So the process right now is we have to time out putting in a voucher to get a check, to go to the post office, to purchase stamps, put the stamps on the envelopes. Letters, that's straightforward. We are paying correct postage. Anything larger than that, we're probably overpaying. Hopefully not, but we might be. So this would ensure accurate postage. The postage is sold to us at a discount. It's 3 cents per stamp. Nonetheless, it's a little less. What we're doing is leasing the machine. There's only 3 companies, I believe, that the post office allows to lease these machines out. This is one of them. They're
Pitney
very
Bowes.
Pitney Bowes. I checked with
Italy.
other municipalities, Warwick, Monroe, Crawford. They use this company. There was another one called Quadient that we got pricing from. Their machines don't come with the software that handle the accounting portion. And I think for Carrie's sanity, that part would be very helpful because it would give a breakdown of use by department. So right now, there's town clerk, tax collector, court, et cetera, et cetera. So that would give accurate reporting at the end of the month to say who used what, and we could budget better. And the biggest part is for the tax collecting portion. I have about 1,200 or so bills to send out, and right now it's a very tedious process of placing a stamp on every envelope and mailing them out. So for selfish reasons, and to hopefully save the town, I think we'll come out about equal cost-wise for leasing the machine and purchasing the postage. The only additional cost would be ink to print on the envelopes, and each ink cartridge is around $100, and it's 8,800 stamps per ink cartridge, so that cost is minimal.
Ah, you lost me with the ink cartridge, I got.
It's okay, we're saving 3 cents per stamp.
Oh, okay. Well, Jay's got you back.
8,800 times .03 is more than $100.
Okay. I'll read the resolution. Whereas the town is in need of a postage machine for town hall, because we don't have one, and whereas the town board has received 2 quotes for the same and has determined that Pitney Bowes provides pricing and the type of postage machine that would work best for the town, now therefore it be resolved, if we vote on this, that the town board determines that the procurement of a postage machine for town hall is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with Pitney Bowes, not Bauer, a little typo, for the provision of a postage machine at a cost not to exceed $100 per month, in parentheses, not including postage. Salud. I make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Maria. Does anybody on the town board need to hear any more about this postage machine? Speak up. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And I see Deidre Murphy also raised her hand. Okay. I want to see that baby in action. Come on. I want to cut the ribbon on that thing.
Just while everyone's here, the tax bills are on their way. They're going to be mailed out the last week of December. Sorry about that, but they'll be coming soon.
All right. Agenda item number 4, a resolution to schedule a public hearing on the proposed improvements to the Hamlet Sewer District. I will read the resolution for proposed improvements of the facilities Tuxedo Hamlet Sewer District. Whereas in order to address inflow and infiltration, known in the industry as I&I, problems with the Hamlet Sewer District system, the board has determined to authorize proposed improvements to the sewer district facilities, which include installation of approximately 4,700 linear feet of cast-in-place pipe, CIPP, approximately 500 linear feet of open-cut sanitary sewer pipe replacement, and approximately 32 manholes to be rehabilitated through sealing, plugging, and/or patching, as shown on a map and plan prepared by Hoffman Engineering, a competent engineering firm licensed in the state of New York. Therefore, if we passed it, is resolved that a public hearing to consider public comments on the proposed improvements of the facilities of the Tuxedo Hamlet Sewer District shall be held on December 27, 2023 at 7 p.m. at Town Hall located here, 1 Temple Drive, Tuxedo, New York, 10987. All persons interested will be heard by the town board at the public hearing. So let me just be clear. This is just to set the public hearing, okay? This is not the public hearing. So I'll make a motion to put that before the town board. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Seconded by Jay Reichgott. Do we need any discussion about setting a public hearing? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make note that Deirdre Murphy also acknowledged aye. But I will say, if you haven't been following along about the sewer thing, I don't know where you've been for the last 2 years, because this town is in, we have a $10 million, I'll say Maserati, Ferrari, whatever high-speed car you want to talk about for the sewer system, connected to a Model T, and that's probably being overzealous in describing its current conditions of our sewer system for the hamlet. It's in desperate need of repairs. And so come on out next week, in 2 weeks, and you can give your public comment, but it's desperately in need of repair. And we have a plan. And look forward to executing the plan. All right. So, item 5, resolution to consider entering into a contract with MVP for 2024 employee health benefits. I'll read the resolution. Whereas the town wishes to provide affordable health care insurance to town employees and has negotiated an agreement with MVP Healthcare to provide affordable employee health care insurance for 2024. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board determines that the procurement of employee health care benefits for 2024 is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to enter in an agreement with MVP Healthcare as the 2024 health care provider for town employees. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Michelle Lindsay. Okay, that opens the agenda item to town board discussion.
Just a question for clarification. This is for employees who are not under collective bargaining. So this is for basically people in town hall.
That's
not
correct.
the police, not highway. They still have whatever plan is
Wow.
under their contract.
Carrie Alley's been working on
This is actually, there's a secondary agreement in the collective bargaining agreement where the police do have the option to jump onto the Silver 8 plan, which is what you're authorizing. We previously had not been enrolled in it, so if anybody had wanted to take that plan, we wouldn't be able to. We can only do it at this time of year.
So the police, if police officers want to switch onto this, they can?
Yes.
Okay. But it doesn't, my point is, it doesn't affect any of the
No.
existing contract.
No, it's already in their contract. Nobody currently takes it, but it is a recommendation in there.
It's actually an option in the contract.
Yeah.
So this needed to be formalized anyway.
Excellent, thank you.
What, Donna, you running out on all this? What are you, crazy?
It's hockey.
Oh, wow. I hope he
Okay.
wins.
Well, I think it's a great, I think it's about time that employees in the town have an opportunity to have this insurance. So-
Well, and to be clear, there's only a few employees currently. It's only eligible to full-time employees. And this gives them a little bit more choice. And any further discussion by town board members?
Choice is good.
It's about the insurance I get, so.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, okay. Let's go Jets. Agenda item number 6, resolution to consider appointment of Board of Assessment Review member. I'm going to make a motion, ask for a second in a moment, whereas there is an open position on the Board of Assessment Review for a term expiring on September 30th, 2028. And whereas Howard Zuckoff has expressed interest in filling that position and assuming responsibilities of training and participation associated with the Board of Assessment Review membership, I'll make a motion. Can I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Maria May. So what's before the board here is basically a reappointment of Howard Zuckoff to this board because he served on this board. And truth be told, you got excellent reviews, sir. So, and that Jets hat didn't hurt you anything. 30-6, I think, was the last score, so it's a winner. All jokes aside, Howard, I'd just like to thank you for your service on the Board of Assessment Review. And you want to tell us a little bit about your experiences and why you're crazy enough to want to continue?
I think my fellow members are good. I think the mission is good, and I think my fellow members are good people. I think that the mission is good, and I'm happy to serve the town in the capacity that moves the ball forward.
So for anybody who doesn't understand what a VAR actually does, can you, in a sentence or two, just kind of explain what it is we do with the VAR?
People come with their grievances about their real estate taxes, and the Board of Assessment Review hears them and makes a determination.
Thank you. And so you work with our tax assessor, Jim Davies?
Correct. I work with our tax assessor.
Very good. Any further questions about this?
I also want to thank Howard for serving on the board and being willing to serve another 5 years.
Thank you.
I don't have any further questions. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Chief, put the tracking boot on him so we know where he is, so he can't run away. Okay, thank you. So we had before us in consideration of budget modifications. Michelle, I know you submitted a fairly lengthy comment. I would let me read the resolution. That's basically budget modifications as to whether we're going to approve them or not.
That's on page 5.
Page 5, thank you. So I'll open the discussion about budget modifications. First of all, we did receive a memo dated December 1st, 2023 from our Cooper Arias accounting firm, who acts as a consulting firm for the town's financial positions. And typically at this time of year, but also throughout the year, budget modifications are recommended by Cooper Arias, and that's what we were here to consider tonight. I also want to point out to the town board, if detailed questions are required, then we need to decide whether we're taking action tonight, because it's not essential that it happens tonight, but we received, everyone on the town board received this memo. And as we have in all previous recommendations from Cooper Arias, I don't recall one instance where we didn't follow their recommendations, so. Do you have any comment on that, Maria?
No, I mean, I think that the letter that we got from Cooper Arias explaining one of the places where we had, the fund balance seemed to be low is because the vehicle that we bought was something that was, it just comes out of this budget, but it's gonna be replenished with the
Yeah,
grants, but we
that's one
haven't
of the
gotten.
elements for sure.
Yes, so that was the main thing that I remembered.
Deputy Supervisor?
No, I don't have a comment this time.
Okay. I know you do.
But to follow up on Maria, Carrie, did we ever get a commitment letter from DASNY on the grant for the vehicles? Or are we still waiting to hear from Senator Skoufis's office and the Finance Committee up in Albany whether they'll approve it?
We submitted the full application, that was in September. They confirmed that the application was complete, but we never received anything after that.
So we don't even have an award at this point?
Correct.
Okay. So Andrew said if we do get it awarded, which we don't know if we will, that, it's okay that the money comes in next year, but we don't know.
It's $100,000.
It's $100,000, right, but we don't know if we're gonna get it or not.
No, we don't.
But, my concern, as you know, is that the monthly report that Andrew provided for us on Friday is only through October 31. And besides the budget modifications, which obviously we will make, the proper accounting process is to make the budget modifications before you expend the funds and pay for it. And there are some funds that we paid, such as the settlement on the lawsuit of $350,000, that if we hadn't paid it, we could have financed it, but now we can't finance it because it's already been paid. And if we had known, excuse me.
Sorry. Please let her finish.
I'm sorry.
And if we had known about that, how low our A fund balance was going to be, we probably should have seriously considered financing the settlement. Because to end up with possibly less than $200,000 in our A fund after ending the previous year at over $1.3 million is very concerning. And I've been asking for monthly reports for several months, just so we knew where we were. And we've just been approving expenditures and being told that there was fund balance. But, now we really have, so it's razor thin, the fund balance that we have. So how can we continue to approve expenditures or even vouchers?
For the next 2 weeks?
Well, but we have 2 months' worth of expenditures. We don't know where we stand.
If you could just finish your points up.
Okay, all right, so I'll just read my statement.
There you go.
On Friday, the town board finally received the monthly analysis of the town's financial position through October 31. This is the information I've repeatedly asked for and the reason why I did not vote to approve the 2024 budget. The analysis through October projected an A fund balance at the end of the year, which is a drastic reduction from the 2022 fund balance. It is possible that we will end the year with an A fund balance less than $200,000, which is over $1 million less than the balance at the end of 2022. Now, there were necessary expenditures that were not budgeted, but such as the lawsuit. But there were expenses that could have waited until we secured financing, such as the lawsuit settlement. And if we had had this information before the budget vote, we would have been able to adjust the budget accordingly to strengthen the A fund balance, to really take a serious look at what we're budgeting in expenses and in taxes, rather than leaving the next town board with a razor-thin A fund balance, which is the main account of our town. So before we approve these budget modifications for the board, which kind of clean up the mess through October, I have asked for an update of expected expenditures since October 31 that were not included in Andrew Arias's monthly reports. We need to know now what has been committed in expenditures that our bookkeeper needs to be made aware of. We should follow the prudent practice of approving budget modifications before we approve any more expenditures. This is what they drill into you when you're a new town board officer, when you go to Albany for training. You make the budget modifications first, and then spend the money. The town board has approved expenditure requests for the A fund and the highway DA fund without a good analysis of how these expenses would be paid for. For months, we've been told there are sufficient A fund and DA fund balances, but now we are learning, just on Friday, that that is not accurate. We cannot continue to spend like this when the A and DA balances are projected to be razor thin. We just can't. We have to take a look at everything that's being requested from the various departments and figure what can wait till next year, what can we finance before we spend the money. It's just the way municipal accounting is supposed to be.
All right, I'd like to point to page 4 of Andrew's report. Yeah, $926,000 of general A decreases made up the following. A DiMarino settlement. If you're not aware, the town was sued by Erwin DiMarino and his dirt pile business for operating, was operating on town property without even a permission from the town board. But we were advised to settle this. He was actually suing for $1.5 million. So the town board approved that settlement, by the way. So this wasn't unexpected. We also did a $163,000 garage floor rehabilitation of the highway department because it was brought to our attention that if we didn't take care of this situation, that the highway garage floor has radiant heat in it. Very expensive. If it failed, not only would we have to restore the floor, we'd have to replace the radiant heat system. So, yeah, we had the money in the budget and we spent it rather than finance it, you know? Yeah, okay, blame me, yep, help pay for that, yep. We decided to pay for that, not to pass it on to the future boards in debt. That was a decision, yep, okay. The Tuxedo train station, the rehab of that. What's not shown in this report, Michelle and anybody else, is the $140,000 that we got from the LDC. That's not in here yet. So, wait, let me finish. I patiently waited for you.
I'm sorry.
Okay? And yeah, this $100,000 DASNY award, it's expected, but anybody who's dealt with the state, especially the dormitory authority, when they give you the grant, they let you know this stuff takes a long time to get the money. So, And most of the uses of the fund balance were approved by the town board. So the report that you're looking at, not you, but the town board, talks about fund balance, but that's a snapshot now. Fund balances are really not determined until the year end has happened. And any of the expenditures that were approved by this town board were to ensure that the departments had the equipment they need, that we maintain town facilities that absolutely needed attention now, and did not pass debt on to future town boards. So I feel responsible in what I did. So, and I stand by it, and I'm ready to approve these budget modifications. So, Jay, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I guess the only thing I'd say is of all of these, the $100,000 that we incurred waiting for DASNY to pay for a truck based on a grant that was 10 years old was based on feelings by the board that we needed to grab that money. So I'm not sure it's entirely fair to decide that we should grab that money now that we're waiting to get paid back to feel like we did something wrong. We decided that was an important expense to incur. Other than that, I got nothing to say.
Well, just to clarify, we had decided that we were going to purchase the vehicles whether or not we got the award, because we weren't sure that we were going to get it. Because it was approved 10 years ago, and we asked the State Finance Committee to change the purpose of the grant funds, and we haven't heard back from them if that was approved. So we decided to purchase those vehicles.
Because we needed them.
Not counting on not counting on the grant, I should say.
Yeah.
But
Nor should we.
yeah, no, you have to do that. But my point is, and you said about the 144 reimbursement we're gonna get for the train station, I did calculate then when I said the A fund balance would be just under 200,000, because what Andrew said is that the A fund balance is gonna be $58,000. Now, we can add the 144,000 we're getting reimbursed from the LDC for the train station. However, since October 31st, we've also gotten the tax certiorari notice that we have to pay the Tuxedo Club $46,000. So net, just with those few items, we're under $200,000 projection for the A fund. And the A fund's the only one that is of a huge concern. So we just, we only have 2 weeks left of the board, but we have 2 months of expenses, and we just don't know, we still don't know where we stand.
Very good.
Can I point something out?
Of course.
I don't think anybody's debating here whether we spent the money wisely. I think that's not the point. The point is, all of the things that you mentioned, Ken, were needed and are needed by the various departments throughout the town. The issue is, and has and continues to be, how we manage our funds without a capital plan, without a monthly balance in terms of how our budget looks and what we're expending against, just like we do in all budgetary functions. You have to know what you've spent, what you've committed, and what you forecast. We have not been particularly disciplined in doing that. And that, I think, is the problem here. I don't think that anybody would say that we spent money unwisely or carelessly. I think the issue is that going forward, we should be more careful in terms of understanding what our fund balance is and what we're spending against. And that should be done on a monthly basis. And we should also have a capital plan so that we can understand, hopefully, that we do need more than one police car, that we actually need 2, that we do need more equipment for the highway department, and it doesn't come up just because something broke. So that's my only point here. I don't think there's anybody at fault that we spent money unwisely. The issue is we can get better at how we move forward in terms of managing funds. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Am I
Sounds like prudent
just to
advice.
go on, like, just to add, to clarify, that it was just, we should have known that there wasn't going to be the fund balance, and we should have financed some of these expenditures. Well, I've been asking
Well,
for
that
a
same
long, long
option
time.
is open to any future board to finance. We tried to take care of the issues that we could take care of with the fund balance now. There is hundreds of thousands of dollars in fund balance, and I will point out the prudence of the fund balances, because you focused on one.
Well, the A
Well, let
fund
me
is-
finish now, let me finish, okay? I'll read from the report, okay? Of most importance to this town, whether you live in the Hamlet Sewer District or not, there's 200, I hope you pay attention to this one, because this is an important one, okay? The Hamlet Sewer District is 216 properties, including the building that we're sitting in here, okay? The sewer plant site idle for 6 years, and repairs to the existing collection system, those are the pipes and the manholes that we discussed earlier, really haven't been serviced much, other than superficial servicing in 100 years, when this town was built. This is not particular to Tuxedo. This is rampant throughout the country. Turn on the news, how the water infrastructures are just neglected. Why? Because it's a real difficult rock to push up the hill. It costs money, and it's not just important to those 216 properties. Imagine 216 properties can't flush their toilet all together on the same day because the sewer system failed. That's what we're dealing with here. So we had raised the, it should be a user's fee, but even the way these things were set up decades ago, it's not a user's fee, it's actually passed through in a property tax for these 216 properties. But we've built up the projected fund balance for the Hamlet Sewer District to $757,174. Okay, the projected fix is basically under $900,000. So we've been squirreling this away, waiting to get a plan to replace these pipes and fix them without having to finance anything, and to make sure we had enough money to, and we are, if you paid attention early in the day, we put a public hearing that we will at least be able for the future town board to decide, do they want to finance this or do they want to pay it out in cash? Because we'll actually have most of that money for you guys to work on this. And we've got an RFP that's been approved that we're teeing it up for the future town board to take action on this. And let me tell you right now, it costs the sewer district thousands of dollars, probably close to $20,000 extra a month because of the infiltration and inflow into this system. So this town board has taken action and also protected the taxpayers in that district, okay? I've been nothing but over there and making sure I informed everybody about what's going on there. So I'm very proud that we have that money in the budget. Pretty much don't even have to finance it. But I would say, yes, that's something worth financing, because when you tear down a wall when you're fixing your home and you think, oh, hi, honey, yeah, just change that, you open the wall and God knows what else is gonna happen. So what we're proposing to take out a short-term loan, not a bond that goes on for 30 years, because it's probably not necessary. The next town board could think about it, and we'll tee it up for you that you can decide in January, because you only have 45 days for this RFP to stay valid. We asked for an extension. It will be valid until Valentine's Day. So you could open that box of chocolate and decide whether you want to move that forward. And I would say the 216 properties that are dependent on that fix and the money that we literally flush down the toilet every month will stop being wasted. And the expected expenses that were said for that we're supposed to be under $400,000 a year. Well, right now, we have to keep the old plant running and the new plant running, because when we actually metered how much was going through that system, it was 5 times what was supposed to be going through there. How? Who the hell knows how you could have missed 5 times the flow? But we know what's going through now. I was out there in the field. I looked in those manholes. We cameraed it all. So the estimate is not pulled out of thin air. The contractors were given all that data. So I have to assume that the price that they quoted probably will get most of the job done, and we could start operating that new plant the way it's supposed to be without the old plant still running. So I'm looking at that fund balance, Ms. Lindsay, and saying congratulations, okay? Most of the fund balances, yeah, we use the fund balances prudently to not pass on debt to the further town and to keep those options open. And
Well, I'm just looking at the A fund.
Okay.
$58,000. Come on.
okay, so we already approved tonight $100,000 that Related's gonna give towards that. The LDC, I'm sorry?
That'll happen next year. I'm sorry.
Okay, but that will be, yeah, when are you talking about spending? Next year? Okay, $100,000 will be in there, absolutely, correct or not?
Well, that's correct. I'm just
Okay, it's
saying
correct,
we
okay.
don't know
Oh,
what
then
our
let me finish,
expenses-
okay, there's the $100,000 there. The LDC money, is that included in here? No, okay. That check, because this was through November, okay? That check is actually October, I think.
October,
Yeah, so that's not in here, another $140,000, okay?
But
So-
then we have the taxidermy for.
Okay, yeah, thanks to the Tuxedo Club, I know. Excellent.
So my question is, Carrie, do you know when we can get a handle on where we are through November?
So I'm surprised that, our last update was through July. We received that in September. That's when the last budget modifications were done. So this has normally been done on a quarterly basis. So here we are 3 months later, it's a month to close out, then you get your updates with your fund balance. So I'm surprised that you think this is as far behind as you do. Obviously, we all want to know the numbers and we all want an accurate estimate as far as spending. But exactly, are you looking for the numbers for the year? Because historically, we don't even receive the numbers for the year until February, March. The auditors come in the first week of January and then they come back. This year, they were in multiple times and they didn't even finish up their work until maybe July.
Yeah.
So this is based on the auditors. This isn't necessarily, all the work that's done here. They come in, they go through everything, make sure that we expensed everything properly, that we have backup and documentation for everything. So this year, I don't know what happened in previous years, how long it actually took to get a report. But there's a lot more documentation that's needed, and that starts at the board level. That starts at when you approve the expenditures. Which line item are you approving it out of? This is something that I haven't seen this board do, is say, okay, let's stop right here instead of spending. Where is this money coming from? So the board, it's a great, trajectory, like a path to get on as far as spending when something does come up, to just stop and say, where is this money coming from? That would be my recommendation for the board, not that you asked for it. But as far as, what are you looking for the month end? Because it takes a good month to close out. By the time we get our statements, by the time we close everything, Andrew doesn't have December. Or November. We're working on November right now. So what report are you looking for exactly?
I'm just trying to get an idea, because, we took years to build that A fund balance up, right?
Sure.
From 2015, when we were in terrible straits. And then and we've been able to hold on to it in previous years. So I just, we had so many expenditures, and when I would ask, well, where is the money coming from? The answer was always fund balance.
So
But
can you
wait-
answer, what is the controller's recommendation for fund balance on a percentage basis? Is it 100% of the budget?
No, of course not.
What
But
would
the
you say it is?
It's the process of making sure you have fund balance, if it's not in the budget, which so many of these things were, I mean, we have pages and pages of where we were over budget, and if the money isn't in the budget for those expenses, then we have to do the budget modification first.
Well, first of all, department heads are responsible for their own budgets, and yes, we could all use education in future dealing with budgets. So, no easy task, gentlemen. Work with your department heads to manage payroll down to equipment purchases, procurement. Following the rules of procurement for large purchases is an onerous task, okay? Leaves you with a lot fewer options, because in order to put in a proposal when you go to an RFP, which is basically anything over $35,000, when you see this stack of paperwork that's involved, this is why these mom and pop shops won't apply for these jobs. They're not, why? Because the amount of work they need to do to get approved for the job, with no guarantee, they don't even know how many people are gonna submit bids. And they're just not gonna do it. So I see you nodding your head, Supervisor-elect McMillan.
You know that we've been through this.
Yeah, been through this before, but I just want to be clear. The fund balance, especially even in the A, is not what it says in this report. You know that. I would say it's probably more in alignment with what the Comptroller's office recommends, even though we dealt with all of these outstanding major expenses. That was no way predictable what the settlement was gonna be with Mr. DiMarino. The garage floor and the train station, yeah, we took care of that because those were properties that absolutely needed our attention. And I think it's been discussed enough. I don't need if you're not ready to vote on the budget modifications, we could table
The
this.
budget modifications are, no, I mean, they're cleaning up everything through October
Okay,
31. I'm just talking about the rest of the year. If we have
There's
something
one
come in.
one more meeting here, Michelle.
I
I don't
know,
know
but
what
we have
we're even
2
projecting
months.
here.
So,
Okay.
I guess what I'm asking here is, something comes in and you say, it's over budget. Okay?
There's nothing coming in between now and Christmas, I could tell you. So the hypothetical is really pointless here. You've made your point, and hopefully the next board will, Ms. Murphy, you'll be continuing? Absolutely. Jay Reichgott, I'm sure he'll commit to this. I see 2 of our elects here, you know. Go for it. I'm a resident first. Hoping you will, okay? I can assure you, we didn't take any of the money home with us. We took care of business here in town in a very responsible way. Anybody who says otherwise is giving you, I got a bridge to sell you, okay? We took care of business, okay? Nothing was done. Could things be better? Of course they could. You know, this is a mom and pop shop here, okay? And we have turnover in our bookkeeper, a guy who worked here for decades. And Carrie has all kinds of good suggestions about, she's top notch. She will help move this forward. So in a responsible way. Having you working for the town, Carrie, puts me at ease as I slink out of this job, because I've done my part for this town and I need to move on. And but you're one of the best hires I've made in this town.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
keep it up.
But to everybody's point, there are procedures that should
Absolutely.
be, okay.
No doubt about
Okay.
it. So
When we hired the new recreation director, I met with Carrie, right, Carrie? We talked about what is her salary, how much is in that fund, and then we made budget modifications then, right? So that we had the right amount of money to pay her salary.
Well, that's a great situation that you bring up, because the board had to stop, consider what the additional expense was before approving it. And that's exactly with every project that you hope to do.
So we did that.
Yeah.
We
Well,
got that.
okay, so what's before this board tonight? Because
It's just budget mods.
it's budget modifications. So I'm gonna ask for, I'm gonna make a motion, ask for a second, that the town board of the town of Tuxedo hereby authorizes the budget modifications as proposed by the letter from Andrew Dance.
That's a good
That's
one.
a name I'd rather. Andrew Arias, dated December 1st, 2023, which are listed below in the town board's memo that they received. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Seconded by Maria. I think the discussion has already happened. I don't need any further discussion. Do you need any further discussion? Do you need any further discussion? Jay, do you need any further discussion?
No, sir.
Deidre Murphy, do you need any further discussion?
No?
Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Maria?
Aye.
Ken? Aye. Michelle?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.
And Deirdre?
Aye.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Monthly reports, please spare us. Be as concise as possible.
It's only 8:30.
Hi, everybody. Only really two things I want to bring up. With our new search and rescue team over the past month or so, we've actually had 2 incidents where we deployed some of our trained members, and we had a lost couple. We are right in the midst of hunting and hiking season, right? And starting to edge into winter sports and, you know, mountain biking and all that. So we had a lost couple, not from the area, right? So Lieutenant Norton, who's one of our trained search and rescue guys, was able to locate them, get them out of the woods safely, happily ever after. We also assisted through mutual aid, town of Woodbury. They were doing a search on a suspect, and again, through mutual aid, we sent one of our people over there. Didn't know if we were gonna have to use the whole team. Luckily, we didn't have to, but he was able to advise and assist them over there. So thus far, it's very successful. You know, hoping that we don't have any kind of emergencies, but as the business goes, you know, we are prepared for that. Speaking of emergencies, we are seeing an uptick in weather-related accidents right now. So everyone, please be mindful that even when it doesn't look like it's wet outside, there are frosty roads. So please be careful of that. And I was on the mountain today and we had snow, so just be careful, all right?
Thank you, Chief.
There you go.
You could elaborate as much as you want. I was mostly speaking to myself on that. And I would refer my town supervisor report. I think you've heard enough from me. Marissa Dolbaum, other than your pitney bows, what else do
I
you
was
want?
trying not to make eye contact, so wouldn't you just skip me? Just kidding. Just a reminder, the last day for the collection for the Tuxedo Toy Drive is Friday, December 15th. There's collection boxes all over. There's even one in Town Hall, so don't forget to donate. That's it for me.
That's it?
Yep.
Please make a note, we gotta go buy some toys to drop in that box. Supervisor's update, happy Hanukkah. We had a nice lighting, you know, the rabbi from Monroe, wonderful guy. You know, it's nice to see Jews and Gentiles working together. Claudia, you were there. Very nice, every year.
Nice turnout.
Yeah. It was a nice way to end my term, being over there, especially with what's going on in the world. So the word shalom, and that Hanukkah is the festival of light, you know, that's what the rabbi was pointing out, you know. He used an example of just simple acts of kindness is how you spread the light. So it's not a heavy lift. That's my report. Maria?
Just want to thank Kathleen for doing a good job, both the tree lighting and the Hanukkah, the lighting of the menorah. And she worked really well with, you know, volunteers, and, you know, she's doing a really good job, so thank you.
Deirdre, we don't want to forget you in remote land. I think you're in Florida.
Yeah, I am. So,
Well, we had snow here today, so don't tell us how the weather is.
Yeah, it's a little chilly.
Ah, okay, that made us happier.
Yeah, there. I don't really have much to report this time.
Thank you. Michelle?
I don't have any report, but we had discussed about getting an RFP started for the HVAC system for Town Hall. And I thought it was going to be on the agenda. Do you want to put it on under new business? Or I can present it right now.
I don't have an objection to you presenting it.
Okay, so, so we discussed the RFP for the much-needed HVAC system here in Town Hall, and we had an energy audit, and it recommended a geothermal and solar combined project. We talked about maybe just doing the geothermal right now, and Jay had suggested getting a design from Sean. I asked him if he thought maybe as part of the RFP, we put it out as a design build. He said that seemed to make sense to him, but also suggested that maybe we include
Tell you what, make your pitch and
boiler.
then I'll say what I said.
Okay, well, I just have it right here. You said if we decide on the geothermal, you said a performance specification for a design build RFP makes sense.
I did say that.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Okay.
I'd be happy to explain what I think about this once you get done making your pitch.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We met with New York Power Authority, and they looked for the minimum size of projects. And it was just a very, Amy was on the call. It was a very general discussion as to what their services are. So what I was thinking is maybe the best way to go with this is to create the RFP for the following projects. A geothermal design build for Town Hall based on the recommendations from the energy audit. An in-kind boiler replacement at Town Hall for comparison purposes. An energy audit and upgrades for the police station, because we have the energy usage there, and it probably could be reduced. And a solar roof on the highway garage based on the previous RFP specifications that we had considered last year. So if we create this RFP and have it be in a phased project, then that way we can get New York Power Authority to bid as well as independent contractors. And so I would like to work on that with Sean. Obviously, the next board would be considering the bids once we set a opening bid date in maybe early February. But that's what I would propose to do. And since the HVA system was not included in the budget, I'm thinking the steps have to be that we go out for the RFPs, they come back, then we know the amount that we can then finance and then award the contract. I'm thinking those are the steps we would have to take.
Well, since you put this on an other business kind of trajectory, I'd just like to respond. When you said that this is really the purview of the next board, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's no way we can establish an RFP or even move the process forward between now and December 27. So it's just not even feasible what you're proposing. So, and as far as, just so you guys know, because you're coming in next, if we go ahead with the ban, the anticipation of basically short-term, less than a year, you'll know how much it's going to cost to fix it. You may not have to use much of any of it, but I would absolutely advise you to get it, keep it.
No, you're doing a phase one project, we don't know what.
You're never gonna know. You're never gonna know. It was proposed pretty much in its entirety. But from my knowledge of what's going on over there, and believe me, I've spent a lot of time doing it. I would just recommend to you guys, go for the ban. This will give you the option. You absolutely won't have any budgetary concerns. And we had originally factored in the ARPA money to contribute to that. So the HVAC system isn't an allowable expense under ARPA. So you guys could figure it out. Which is the better choice? You'd have to consider, the return on investment on the geothermal thing. And that's not for this discussion. You could take what I'm saying, blow your nose with it if you so choose. As a resident though, I would hope you'd realize I spent a lot of time doing this. And,
There's no doubt about that.
so, you'll have the ARPA money, which would, I think, cover either one of these options. The cheaper one, obviously, is the replacement of a high-efficiency system, which will be a hell of a lot better than the 40-year-old system we have up there. So that's something to consider. How long are we going to continue to use this building? If it's not more than 30 years, it's probably not a great investment. But that's for the prudence of a future board to consider, not this board.
We appreciate that.
So I guess my point is, why not start the RFP? Because they have a lot to
Okay, can
do
I-
once they take office. And, this would be in the works.
Sean's not gonna be doing anything between now and New Year's Eve to write up an RFP. It's just not gonna happen, so
So I'd like to say.
there's no
a couple-
jumping ahead.
I'd like to say a couple of things.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, while we're talking about things that people said in emails, Chris Kasker, who isn't here, according to you, Michelle, said he wanted to look at the numbers on this project. Okay. What I had proposed was that the next step that made sense was for Sean to do an assessment of town hall options. There are basically two options for people listening at home. A replacement in kind, which takes the existing boiler and AC unit, replaces it with a modern system, which will be more efficient, has a smaller upfront cost, may have a larger life cycle cost because of efficiencies. Or do a sufficient design to determine how much and what sort of geothermal heat pump system we would need, which has a significantly larger upfront cost, although there may be government incentives to help bring that down, and probably has a smaller life cycle cost because they're significantly more efficient, and wherever you feel it's going, the cost of oil and gas ain't going down anytime soon. My suggestion was that to tee it up for the next board to make some decisions, that we, if we're going to advance anything, advance that study so that the next board has real numbers to make a decision about what they want to do. If the decision is to go with a geothermal heat pump system, then by all means, the rest of that design should be a design build, because every one of those systems is custom. And so it should be a design build RFP, if that's the choice. Now, whatever we're going to do at the police station, or at the train station, or at Highway, or at the old bus depot, is a completely different project that hasn't even been talked about since forever. And I don't understand why that keeps creeping back into the scope of what are we going to do about the town hall heating system. In any event, 2 weeks beyond the end of the year, you guys want us to ask Sean to start something? Let me know. Otherwise, we got something to do on the first meeting agenda.
And Jay, to my knowledge, you will be on the board, and Chris Kasker will be on the
I
board.
might
You'll
get
have
hit by a
fully-
bus,
fully
but
functioning
nobody
board.
gets off that easy.
And, move it forward.
Anyway, that's what I think.
Any other report you want to expand on?
No.
Okay. Jay, did you have anything to report?
I have two things. First of all, after months of discussion and struggle, the ATM is now up and running at the train station. Yeah, I mean, we thank you. I think the town gets 50 cents off of every,
You got my 50 cents.
there you go. It pays for electricity. It's there, you can't miss it. It's in the big red box. We put it on the backside of the train station with all the rest of the ugly stuff for that very reason. So.
It's not that ugly.
It's not, it looks like an ATM. When we do the historical thing, they'll put something over it, a telephone booth or something. We can talk to them, maybe. Yeah. Huh? Red.
You might mistake it for Santa's mailbox.
Yeah.
I know,
That's on
I
the
was gonna say, there's a
That's on the
mailbox is the
front
one
side.
part, and then, yeah.
One takes your money, one gives it. The only other thing, yes, it's Hanukkah, we won't see you all until after Christmas, so, I never get it right. Merry Christmas to
Merry
everyone.
Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, thank you.
Thank you. That's all I got.
I'll make a motion, Happy Hanukkah, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Town board update, we did that, thank God. Minutes, where page am I
Page
at?
12.
Page 12, thank you. Motion made by, guess who? Ken. Ask for a second in a moment to accept the minutes of the regular bi-monthly town board meeting held on November 27, 2023. Do I have a second, Maria?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any edits, additions suggested? You know who to send them to. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Government moves at lightning speeds. Vouchers. Below are the vouchers. On a motion made by Ken, ask for a second, Maria.
Second.
Thank you. That the following vouchers having been audited by the town board are hereby approved for payment. Claims number 201-292-2521 through 201-292-2578. I made a motion. It's open to town board discussion.
Guess I'll just ask my question again. All these expenses are within the budget. Within the budget, right? I mean, that we ought to be able to know. Not within.
Your largest one is the tax secretary, so that was not in the budget.
Is that in here? Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, make the note. We're at public comments. Jerry and Dale couldn't make it tonight. They actually let me know ahead of time. You know, I joke with them, but you know what? They show up for practically every meeting, okay? Most of the time, it's crickets in here. Most time, people only come out when there's a fire on their lawn, okay? That's disgraceful. Claudia, okay,
I want points for staying to the end.
there you go.
Yeah, right. With you.
Not just for showing up, but staying.
These are the points. You get
Yeah, you didn't get the gavel, you got the.
three, you got the ring. That's like the blue special in Kmart or whatever it is. You, absolutely. You know, we have people who volunteer here in town. Many of them just left. It takes a village to run a town. And, but government needs way more interaction with its citizenry. And, God knows we've tried.
Thank you both, and Chris for stepping up. It's, sometimes thankless.
Yeah.
But it's good, you know, you feel like you're doing something.
Yeah.
I wish I could pull this back in March.
That's why we don't tell you till after you get elected.
All right, so probably something I've been looking forward to. Well, I have one more to do. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:54.
I'm gonna second that.
Wait a second. Do I have a second, Maria? Adjourn this meeting at 8:54 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas.